Good morning, and welcome to everyone here in the church or joining us on Livestream, and a virtual welcome to our ministers and the many members of our congregation who are currently away on a weekend retreat. We're delighted that you're here with us. I'm Reverend Millie Phillips. I'm a member of this congregation and your guest minister today. I am happy to be joined on the chancel by Mari Magaloni, our worship associate. And let us welcome those who are making this service possible. Our amazing organist, Reiko, whose music is featured today, and to Richard Fay, our song leader. To Jonathan Silk, our AV and sound expert. To our camera and tech crew, which appears to be Jonathan Silk today. It's a smaller service than usual. To Joe Chapeau, who is monitoring our chat and can help you with any problems you have getting connected today. To Remigio Flood and Kelvin Jones for helping us function in our building this morning. To our ushers, Linda Messner, Tom Brookshire, and Les James, and to Ralph Fenn, who will be hosting our virtual coffee hour. Let's begin by lighting a candle in honor of all you at home or away at a retreat, and bringing your spirit and presence into this space too, and this time we share together. Welcome. And now, please join in singing our first hymn, number 120, Turn Back. The words and music are in your order of service, and though the words may be different, you will find the tune fairly familiar.
Turn back, forswear thy foolish ways. Old now is earth, and none may count its days. Yet humankind, whose head is crowned with flame, still will not hear the inner God proclaim. Turn back, forswear thy foolish ways. Earth might be fair, its people glad and wise. Age after age, how tragic empires rise. Built while we dream, and in the dreaming weep. Would we but wake from out our haunted sleep. Earth might be fair, and people glad and wise. Earth shall be fair, and all its people one. Not till that hour shall God's whole will be done. None even now wants more from earth to sky. Peace forth in joy that old undone
I invite you to join me as we light our chalice. The words are in the order of service. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together.
If this is your first time watching our live stream, thanks for joining us. You can follow along in the order of service, which is available in the description of this video and is emailed to everyone who receives our newsletter. You can get this newsletter by filling out our connections form, available through a link in the order of service and video description, or on the welcome table for those attending in person. The order of service also lists upcoming events and links to opportunities to connect, including our Zoom coffee hour for our live stream folks, which takes place after the service in parallel to our in-person coffee hour, which happens here at church. Please note in the order of service, chances to deepen your spiritual practices, to engage in deeper study, and to put your values into practice through a variety of opportunities here at UUSF. I want to call your attention especially to, first, our annual meeting following next Sunday's service, which will be held both online and in person. Second, the memorial service, June 9th at 6 o'clock for our beloved member, Trudy Lionel. And third, our June 12th service, which will honor retiring minister Reverend Allison Jacks and will be followed by a party. I invite us now to center ourselves in worship by singing our meditation on breathing. The words are in your order of service. If this is your first time singing it, just listen and join in as you feel comfortable. And feel free to get lost in the singing as a way to deepen our presence here together.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
Please join me as we say our covenant and sing our doxology. The words are printed in the order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
Songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue. De todos bajo el gran sol, esperanza
This has been a difficult week, with the horrendous shooting killing 19 children and 2 of their teachers in an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, following so soon after the murders of 10 people in a grocery store in a Black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York, a terrorist act motivated by overt white supremacist ideology. In light of that, I ask you to please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Please take a few deep breaths and feel the grounding of the earth beneath your feet. In the name of that which each of us holds sacred, Spirit of life and love, God of many names or none, may we mourn these deaths, remembering that each one was a precious life, a person loved by others, a person, no matter how old or young, who contributed their gifts to others, gifts that are now lost to our world, except in the present and future memory of those who knew them and in our collective efforts to carry out their legacies. On this Memorial Day weekend, where traditionally we honor and remember those who died in war, may we recognize that these deaths, too, are a product of war, a war for the soul of our society, our country, and our planet. In that spirit, I would like to read the names of those who died in these 2 tragic events. Buffalo, New York. Roberta A. Drury, age 32. Marcus D. Morrison, age 52. Andre McNeil, age 53. Aaron Salter, age 55. Geraldine Talley, age 62. Celestine Cheney, age 65. Hayward Patterson, age 67. Catherine Massey, age 72. Pearl Young, age 77. And Ruth Whitfield, age 86. And in Uvalde, Texas, Nevaeh Alyssa Bravo, age 10. Jacqueline Casares, age 9. McKenna Lee Elrod, age 10. Jose Manuel Flores, Jr., age 10. Eliana Garcia, age 10. Irma Garcia, teacher, 48, whose husband died afterward from a heart attack, orphaning their 4 children. Uzia Garcia, age 10. Ameri Jo Garza, age 10. Javier Lopez, age 10. Jace Carmelo Luevanos, age 10. Tess Mata, age 10. Miranda Mathis, age 11. Eva Mireles, teacher, aged 44. Alicia Ramirez, age 10. Annabelle Rodriguez, age 10. Maite Rodriguez, age 10. Alexandria Lexi Rubio, age 10. Leila Salazar, age 11. Jela Nicole Silguero, age 10. Eliana Cruz Torres, age 10. Rogelio Torres, age 10. And let us not forget Dr. John Chang, age 53, who died at his Laguna Wood, California church, defending others from a gunman who wounded 4. Let us hold their loved ones and communities in our hearts. remembering that these could have been our own loved ones and our own communities, while recognizing that it is the nature of humans to feel most intensely for the loss of those we know and love directly. May we still attempt to imagine their loss and grief. May we remember that none of us are exempt, that this may be our future too, no matter how hard we work to prevent it. Yet may we not let that knowledge keep us from this work. Rather, may we recommit to the lifelong struggle to build peace, justice, solidarity, and equity in all the realms of our lives. Lastly, knowing that there are both joys and sorrows within our own congregation, may we remember to hold each other in tenderness. Amen. Let us now take 2 minutes of meditation, pondering in silence the losses we remember and our commitment to transforming the memories of the future. I will signal the end of the 2 minutes by the sound of this bowl.
para Maite Rodríguez, mi tocallita, que murió en la tierra linda de Uvalde, donde yo también jugaba de niña. I dedicate this to Maite Rodríguez, Maria Esther. We call a person with our same name Tocayo. She's my little tocallito who passed away in a beautiful land called Uvalde, where I also played when I was a child her age. When I was little, my younger brother Eduardo and I shared a special terror about a creature named Spring-Heeled Jack who knocked on doors at night. When someone answered, he would spit fire in their face, and then he would disappear into the night by leaping over gates and rooftops. The story was in our favorite book, Strange Stories and Amazing Facts. The victim's descriptions of Spring-Heeled Jack's glowing red eyes made us shiver, and we swore that if we ever heard a knock late at night, we wouldn't let anyone open the door, not even Papi. To make it more dreadful for ourselves, we would read the book at bedtime. When we were sufficiently terrified, we would push our twin beds together and Rochambeau to see who would have to turn out the light and try to make it back into bed before the monsters grabbed them. Once the lights were off, we would make sure to hide under our covers and made sure that our feet touched each other's so that if something horrible dragged one of us away, the other could feel the movement and wake up. Eduardo didn't know it, but there was a worse boogeyman that kept me up at night. I had overheard grown-ups talk about how young men had been drafted to fight in the Vietnam War. Even though the war was over by this time, the idea of a draft became a sort of super monster to me. My three brothers were my world. What was this force that had the power to snatch them away? It made my blood run cold. And yet, when daylight came, my brothers and I would play war with bags of little green army men. We would set them up in different formations and shoot at each other's armies with rubber bands. We especially loved to play hand-to-hand combat, taking turns wearing our one prized plastic gladiator outfit that came with a helmet, chest plate, shield, and sword. And laundry days were especially exciting. We would dig out all the socks from the mounds of clean clothes and carefully roll them into tight wads to use as cannonballs. And then we would set up forts around the apartment and turn our home into something out of Duck Soup, our favorite Marx Brothers movie. My father had served in the Air Force and would regale us with stories of his time in Reykjavik, Iceland. We loved it when he would show us black and white pictures of himself as a young man, looking rayfish, standing next to a motorcycle in front of the barracks, or working on what looked like transistors inside a large airplane hangar. Now that he was a father, he would turn us into ersatz soldiers at dinner time by marching us to the table to the beat of a cheerful military tune. A comer, soldaditos de papel. Time for dinner, little paper soldiers. Sometimes, my father would sing a traditional children's song from Mexico about a young man named Mambrú who went to war that would stop me in my tracks. The song goes way back to the 1700s by way of France and Spain. Mambrú se fue a la guerra. Qué dolor, qué pena. Mambrú se fue a la guerra. Quién sabe si volverá. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Quién sabe si volverá. Mambrú went to war. What a shame. What sorrow. Who knows if he'll come back? In the song, they wait for Mamru to come home. Maybe he'll be home for Easter. No? Well, then maybe he'll be home by the Trinity. Time passes, and eventually he does come back in a casket. The song made me feel a sorrow that was beyond my years. The melancholy it dredged up came from such a deep and knowing place that, looking back, I wonder if it wasn't a genetic memory. It was too much for my child heart to bear, and the agony would gush out of me in tearful, secret prayers for my brothers. I have a son who will be 21 in July. When he was born, I couldn't believe how big his feet were. I would hold them in my hands like big warm tamales and laugh. When he was a toddler, he loved it when I would lay on the floor and bounce him on my shins while I sang The Noble Duke of York. When Russia first attacked the Ukraine and Zelensky announced that all men 18 to 60 were banned from leaving the country, I felt the old familiar panic begin to rise in my chest. On the news, I watched as gentle men, unaccustomed to fighting, awkwardly held their newly assigned weapons. I am finding it harder and harder to push down my sense of alarm. The drums of war are breaking through like a dreadful knock in the night. I wish I could make them go away. I wish all I had to do was whisper, "Don't open the door, mijo." I wish I could turn out the lights and cocoon next to him under our old familiar blankets, our feet touching like steadfast troopers keeping vigil until morning light. It's Memorial Day. I hold in my heart all of the beloved young people who have answered the call or have been in the way and been lost to us. And now, our morning offering for work and ministries of this congregation will be both given and gratefully received. You can give online by pressing the donation button in the order of service or on your website. A link is also in the video description and in the chat. In the payment portal, please give using the line Sunday Plate Offering. Thank you in advance for your generosity.
Our reading this morning is The Young Dead Soldiers by Archibald MacLeish. The words are in your order of service. Mari and I will alternate reading the parts, and if you like, you are welcome to join in on the italicized responses. The young dead soldiers do not speak.
Nevertheless, they are heard in the still houses. Who has not heard them?
They have a silence that speaks for them at night when the clock counts.
They say, "We were young, we have died. Remember us."
They say, "We have done what we could, but until it is finished, it is not done."
They say, "We have given our lives, but until it is finished, no one can know what our lives gave."
They say, "Our deaths are not ours, they are yours. They will mean what you make of them."
They say, "Whether our lives and our deaths were for peace and a new hope, or for nothing, we cannot say. It is you who must say."
They say, "We leave you our deaths. Give them their meaning."
We were young, they say. We have died. Remember us.
Thus ends our reading. If you are a newcomer to our church, I want you to know that ours is a community that honors and celebrates all that is positive and joyful in life, as well as what is sad and bitter. Our services often feature topics that are happier and less heavy than today's. They are not always as contemplative. In fact, this weekend is a fun and happy one for many in our congregation who are attending our first Memorial Day weekend family retreat since the start of the pandemic, a beloved and much missed annual tradition. Few of us truly observe Memorial Day, a holiday intended to honor the sacrifice of those who died in our nation's wars. It was originally created to honor Northern soldiers who died in the Civil War, the U.S.'s second revolution that ended literal slavery, despite the racist injustices that continued in the future. Perhaps we have no relatives who died in war, or maybe we feel ambivalent about remembering them on this day because they fought and died for reasons we may oppose, or because we don't want their memories to be cheapened by using them as props for the advocates of nationalism and imperialism. We may resonate with the solemnity of the occasion, but not with any intent to make killing and dying, usually for corporate profit, into a thing to celebrate, emulate, or advocate. We may take a moment to remember the young dead soldiers with genuine grief, but not with patriotic fervor. There can be honor in risking death for a just cause, but not for an unjust one. There can be honor in physically defending oneself and one's family or community from lethal violence, even if that can mean taking lives ourselves. But there is no honor in killing or dying at the command of those who have shown in myriad ways that they don't care in the slightest about the survival or well-being of us or the vast majority of the world's people. That's why I can't imagine ever supporting a war carried out by the current U.S. government under the direction of its corporate masters. This Memorial Day, let us honor the 2 teachers who died in Uvalde while trying to shield their students, and the doctor in Laguna Woods, California, killed while acting to stop a gunman from taking additional lives in his Asian American church. They were civilian martyrs. They found remarkable courage in a moment of unchosen and unanticipated panic. And of course, let's honor too those who survived while saving others in Buffalo, Uvalde, and Laguna Woods, those who were wounded, and the memory of all who are killed in such horrific events. I do grieve the death of soldiers. I feel sorry for the hardships all combatants face in war. I will keep fighting for the benefits owed U.S. veterans by a government who puts them in harm's way. But I find it profoundly dishonorable to remember them in ways that attempt to justify such sacrifices in the future. In Unitarian Universalism, our first principle is to recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every person, even those who by their actions give us good reasons to question their worth and dignity. You can't believe in the first principle and have any real desire to kill. Yet desire is not the same thing as recognizing necessity. While an absolute pacifist might choose to die, or even let others die rather than to kill, that was not the position of such great teachers of nonviolence as Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King. They believed risking death or injury without fighting back, but as a disciplined and powerful way of stating resistance. They also believed it was justified to take lives if absolutely necessary to prevent others from being killed. I share that belief, and I imagine many of you do too. Many years ago, I tried to kill a person in defense of myself and my family. I only slightly injured him, but enough to cause him to flee, which helped save at least 3 lives. Had he died, I imagine I would have been even more traumatized by this terrifying experience. But I doubt I would have felt any moral regret. All this brings me to ask, if we could kill, and I know I could, what exactly does it mean to be an advocate for peace? Fascists, we know, justify killing, torturing, and imprisoning others in the name of racism and xenophobic nationalism, and they seek to install extremely authoritarian governments to protect capitalism at all costs. Vladimir Putin claims the invasion of Ukraine is justified due to the presence of fascism there being a threat to culturally Russian Ukrainians, and that the US and its European NATO allies are increasingly encroaching on Russia's sovereignty. There are fascists in Ukraine, including forces supported by the US government during the 2014 coup there. The US and NATO are not innocent defenders of the Ukrainian people or any other, and they continue to advance their military alliance provocatively toward Russia's borders. The parents of my generation, my father included, fought in World War II in a temporary alliance with then Soviet Russia, often with the honorable goal of defeating fascism, even if that was not the overriding purpose of those who gave the orders. They too killed untold numbers of civilian non-combatants who were not fascists at all, just like many Russian soldiers are doing now. Was this justified? Even with hindsight, it is hard to know who was an innocent victim. And within the actual fog of war, it is even harder to see exactly whom one might be justified in killing. Yet, how could one argue that the corrupt, authoritarian, and staunchly capitalist Russian government is somehow trying to save Ukrainians from fascism, the US or NATO? How is that any different from the US in Vietnam, famously trying to destroy villages to save them? In the US today, we have a growing fascist movement rooted in white supremacist and Christian nationalism. Would this justify another power militarily attacking the US? How can we not feel empathy for Ukrainians battling to protect their families from a horrific invasion? If bombs were dropping on San Francisco or Oakland, where I live, would I want to take up arms to defend myself, my family, my neighbors? Though duly horrified and frightened by the prospect, I can only hope I would have the courage and ability to do so, or at least at my age, be able to help others who do. If I can't justify a military attack on my own warmongering country, where fascism is far more of a threat to the world than it is in Ukraine, because I don't believe that all US Americans are villains who deserve to die, how could I ever justify any war that seeks to stereotype and villainize an entire population because of the actions of its government or the actions of some of its citizens? And what war doesn't? Adding to that, pragmatically, Any invasion of another country by a nuclear power should be opposed because it risks a true Armageddon. Thus, I part company with those who claim to be anti-war and yet will not condemn the Russian invasion due to the faulty logic that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. However, even they may have a point about hypocrisy. How can we, as residents of the country that Martin Luther King rightfully called the greatest purveyor of violence in the world, we who have by far the highest percentage of deaths by gun violence of any so-called developed country in the world, not be hypocrites when we condemn others for engaging in killing? Perhaps the answer to that is that we are not our government. Our government is not caring for the well-being or representing the stated desires of the majority of U.S. residents and even voters. We must find the political independence necessary not to act unwillingly or unwittingly complicit in its actions. That will not be easy. But to the extent anyone tries, even if they fail, they're not hypocrites in my book. We must continue to advocate for peaceful solutions to problems, effective, peaceful solutions. However, I do believe in the right of self-determination of oppressed peoples, and oppressors do not give up power voluntarily. We UUs say we want to get rid of racism and systematic inequality, but it is highly unlikely that can be done without risking our lives in violent encounters, or at least giving material support to others who do, as did many of our Unitarian and Universalist forebears during the Civil War. Don't forget, Memorial Day was created precisely to remember such fighters for liberation. Let us not be complicit in oppression because we lack their resolve or courage or empathy. Yet, we also know from painfully consistent historical memory that violence begets more violence. All too often, liberators become oppressors themselves, drunk from the power they have seized by force. We cannot minimize the tough choices we face ahead. There are no simplistic answers. None of us are exempt from wrestling with the angels of our morality. War is hell, no matter who initiates it or conducts it, and it is a lasting hell. It leaves a legacy long after cities are rebuilt and the graves of the long-forgotten dead become hidden under the weeds. War plants the demon seeds of divisions yet to come. It is said that those who fail to remember the past are doomed to repeating it. I would add that those who fail to remember the future are no less doomed. The future depends on the collective decisions humanity makes today. Thank you. Thank you. And now, please join us in singing hymn number 119, Once to Every Soul and Nation. The words and music are in your order of service.
comes to every soul and nation, comes the moment to decide. In the strife of truth with falsehood, for the good or evil side, then it is the truth is noble when we share its wretched crust. Ere that cause being fame and passion, and 'tis prosperous to be just. Though the cause of evil prosper, yet 'tis truth alone is strong. Through its passion be the scaffold, and upon the throne be wrong. There it is the brave one chooses, while the coward stands aside, till the multitude make virtue of the faith they have denied.
Sorry for not putting my pages in order. Thank you. Now for our benediction. In the midst of struggle, grief, fear, doubt, and regret, may we find comrades and companions to share the journey and to keep us on the path toward liberation. And by following the path, may we find equanimity, love, courage, resolve, satisfaction, and someday a just and lasting peace. Go in peace.